What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Monster Hunter movie because I just watched it and had a surprisingly good time. Now, let's face facts, most video game movies downright suck. I mean, yes, we had Sonic the Hedgehog this year, and that was actually pretty great, but a lot of times, a lot of video game movies, whether it be Blood Rain or House of the Dead, or of course, the very famously awful Hitman movie, a lot of these just downright suck because it feels like they don't understand the video games themselves. The Monster Hunter movie feels straight out of Monster Hunter, and I am so impressed about it. Now, I bet you're wondering, why the hell are you even watching a freaking movie like this, DreamcastGuy? Like, straight up, I'm not a movie reviewer, I don't really do videos like this very often, but I wanted to talk about it because I am a really big fan of Monster Hunter. I was kind of curious how they were going to choose to handle this. And additionally, this is being done by Paul W.S. Anderson. That's actually the dude who did every freaking one of the Resident Evil movies. These were done by him, so that's already interesting. But part of the reason I like the W.S. Anderson movies is because he likes to put Milla Jovovich as the star of every one of his films. And they're married. So in a weird way, a lot of times, even if I have hated some of the Resident Evil movies, I kind of enjoy the fact that it's this couple that's in love and are just making these crazy action flicks together. It almost feels like silly home movies where his wife is this crazy star. So the fact that we get to watch these really CG, goofy, freaking slop fests is kind of enjoyable. And in this, I think that Milla Jovovich does a great job as the leading role, playing as Artemis, this soldier who's lost. Now, in this, I want to try and break down what's good about this film and what's bad about this film without ruining anything. I don't want to talk too much about the specifics because I think this is something that is worth your time, especially if you are a fan of Monster Hunter. Now, let's start off by talking about the plot. Very, very loosely, what basically starts this story off is a giant accident, which is that all the heroes in this movie are these people that are like UN soldiers. They look and act and talk a lot like American soldiers, but you know, it says UN on their flag. Well, one day they're cruising through the desert trying to do a reconnaissance mission, and they get sucked through a portal that leads to the Monster Hunter universe. And once they're here, they have to try and survive in this land. Now, if you've never played Monster Hunter, the major crux of it, what makes the game so fun, is that there are enormous beasts that you have to hunt down, and as you kill them, you can then use their dead body parts to craft even bigger and better weapons. It's this nice cycle of constantly getting stronger. And more than anything, the part of this movie that I was kind of blown away by is how authentic it is to the source material. This feels exactly like Monster Hunter. There is crafting, there is cooking, there is chances to actually sit and rest and hang out. Like, this is such a legit film. But let me talk about the part of this that I think is the most interesting to me as somebody that does really enjoy movies. This has almost no talking in it. Now, what I mean by that is that there is, of course, conversations in it here and there. 99% of the characters in this film do not speak English, and there is no subtitles, which means that most of the film is straight up just characters talking a little bit to our hero Artemis, and her talking back a little bit, saying words like chocolate or spear or something like that. And in a way, this absolutely works. This makes the film 10 times better in my opinion, because what it ends up making it do is there is a lot of show, don't tell. There is a lot of times where instead of trying to talk about how a monster is dangerous, they just show the monster kill some people. Or instead of trying to explain, oh, there's this deadly poison in the ground, they just show the deadly poison kill somebody. Like, there is so much action in this film in general, but I like that they don't dwell on it. It feels like we are being transported legitimately into the Monster Hunter universe. I also like the fact that because nobody speaks English, they're all talking to each other, and it kind of establishes this interesting sense of like continuity. It feels like this world already exists, and we're getting our own human window into it. It is such a great time. But to go beyond this, the major issue I have with the film is that at times it feels incredibly low budget. Like, one of the weirdest parts about it is that there's, of course, a lot of CGI. There's a lot of computer-generated monsters that are flying out of sand or exploding or, you know, breathing fire and stuff like that. But the way they try and keep the budget down, it feels like, is they do some stuff like, one of the major things is there's a lot of very tight angles where it'll show like a dragon breathing fire or something like that, and then it'll show a character's face being like, oh my god! and they feel super disconnected. There is a lot of times where it'll have a shot of somebody running, and then completely separately is a shot of the monster. You can tell that they did a lot of stuff just goofing off on very tiny green screens, and it does at times kind of make things feel very confusing. One of the strangest things about this film is that it feels like it was edited by a YouTuber. And what I mean by that is, if you ever watch like vloggers won't just show you going down the stairs. Vloggers will have like a shot of a hand picking up a skateboard, a shot of you walking down the stairs, a shot of a foot going into an Uber car. Like, there's a lot of transitional shots in this. The editing is very, very hyperbolic. A lot of times this is just, it feels like it has a lot of unnecessary cuts and twists and changing camera angles, and a lot of the stuff just feels unnecessarily frenetic. It feels like they're trying to make it feel higher energy, even during conversations and stuff. This does feel like it may be some sort of budgeting issues where they're trying to do like quicker cuts and shorter takes to disguise the fact that they didn't manage to have all the props and special effects that they probably wanted. And one of the things is, they definitely repeat stuff at times in the movie. Like, not dialogue, but there's times where like somebody will walk up to a car and then get into a car accident and then leave the vehicle and then come back to the film later and get into another car accident. There's a lot of like repeated sequences that feels like they only had a couple sets that they were allowed to film on. And it makes things feel very constrained at times. And I think it works. It doesn't hold the film back that much, but if you're aware of it, it definitely feels a lot of times like the entire thing seems like it was probably filmed in a tiny warehouse, and the movie is trying to be this expansive set piece style film, so you very much feel like you're bumping into the edges of the fishbowl. You're constantly feeling you're pushing against the barriers of the film to see what the director probably intended at first. Now let's talk about the acting as a final note, which is, I think that everybody did a surprisingly good job. The three main people is Milla Jovovich, very, very good. Ron Perlman, who of course has played Hellboy. He's getting pretty old, to be honest, and it's kind of funny to see him in this film, being a character in this universe as such a grizzled old veteran. He doesn't move around a lot. Honestly, it kind of seems like this is a paycheck film for him. A lot of him standing there and being like, "Brr." But I guess that works. And then Tony Jaa, who is a major part of this film. Now, I've been watching Tony Jaa since The Protector, so I've been watching this guy for about 15 years. Huge fan of Tony Jaa. He is amazing in this. The fact that he does not speak a single word of English, the fact that he manages to act this script so well, conveying so much emotion and plot and backstory and fear when they're being chased by monsters, I am genuinely impressed as to how much this man manages to do with a script that probably, I guarantee you, on the paper itself, it probably said stuff like squints eyes afraid. He killed it. Everybody in this movie killed it. I'll straight up say everybody did amazing in this, but more than anything, Milla Jovovich, I cannot believe she is still so freaking great at this. After doing a million Resident Evil movies, obviously she was in stuff like the Fifth Element, like she has been an actress for so long. She absolutely kills this role, from the action shots and flipping around and fist fights and trying to just explode stuff. Like, she does so well, and I'm just shocked by it because, I don't know, this movie seems like something that is, to say just perfectly, I think that this is the most video game movie I have ever seen in my life. I like the references. I like that there's practically a leveling system in the film. Like, this feels what video game movies should be. They're not taking the video game and twisting it around and shoving it into the Hollywood filter. This feels straight up, this feels like a fan film. This feels like people who are obsessed with Monster Hunter decided to sit down and make Monster Hunter. And for that, I completely respect it. This was so much better than I thought. I mean, I'm probably not going to watch it again in theaters, but what I do want to do, I am glad I saw it at a big screen. I'm probably going to buy this on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever and show it to my friends sometime, because I feel like this is going to be one of those movies that's so fun to sit down with your friends and drink a couple beers or something and watch it together, because it's a little bit of a goofy mess. There is just time jumps. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that feels like it is a little bit chopped together, but to me, that's kind of a strength and not quite a weakness. Now, I don't want to put a score on it because I'm not good enough at movie reviews to put a big number on it, but this is something I would highly recommend. If you like Monster Hunter, go see this film. You will have a blast. But I do think that some people, like absolute normies, are going to be a little bit confused by it. Okay, well, thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. I can't believe a Monster Hunter movie exists. Ooh, what a time. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.